Hello and welcome back to Bourbon Barrel Talk. I'm your host, Scott Minton. Today we're back in the Brock Bourbon Bar, but we have some special guests today. We like throwing these out there every now and then, Nick, right?
Absolutely.
Good deal. So we have the privilege and the honor of meeting with the owners of Lodestar Whiskey. Lodestar, Lode Star, because when I say it, most people said Lone Star. Are they tied to Texas? I'm like, no, it's not Lone Star, it's Lodestar. But the owners are Anna Axster and Wendelin von Schroder. Ladies, welcome to the show. How are we doing?
We're doing great. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, excited to be here.
Reading up on some stuff, I noticed that you guys were just recently voted by Forbes, like 10 women changing the bourbon industry or the whiskey industry. What was that like?
It was cool.
Yeah, I mean, we're just excited to kind of be a part of maybe a little bit of change. That's exciting to us. That's part of the reason why we got into all of this. So yeah, it's fun.
We're missing our resident lady, so we apologize for that. But we're gonna do our best to hold up our end of the bargain. We still love women, so I'm sure we can be glad to talk to you here. So before we dive into Lodestar and the inspiration behind it and stuff like that, if you don't mind, so people get a little bit of better idea, tell them a little bit more about yourself. How does that sound?
Sure.
Great. Yeah.
Well, we're family. We're cousins. We grew up together in a big family that loves to gather around a dinner table and have lots of good food and good drinks. And we initially both worked in the entertainment industry. We worked in both film and also music for over a decade together. We ended up working together in that space. And so, we've been close ever since we were little kids. And then we ended up working together, and we had developed a really good relationship as kind of colleagues as well, and a shorthand in that kind of space. So when we decided to jump into the whiskey world, we definitely already had we built a foundation of how we work together and how we communicate and all that stuff. So that made it kind of easy in some way, but it was definitely a hard pivot for us because, like I said, we came from entertainment.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and we like Anna said, we worked in music and drank a lot of whiskey. That was kind of like the drink of choice in that world, and we really developed a love for whiskey, and it kind of became a thing that when we would be out on the road for work, we would end up in distilleries, some bigger, some smaller. I think one time we found a couple that distilled in their backyard and emailed them and asked if we could come by.
I think it's called moonshine.
Yeah. It was really great. I don't know if you've tried, it was Swift whiskey out of Texas, the hill country.
Not a whole lot of Texas whiskey have we really reviewed or talked about. I think probably
still Austin.
Yeah, still Austin, Garrison Brothers.
Yeah.
There's a
they're
handful
great.
that we've worked with in the past, but yeah, that one's one I've not heard of. So, but there's a million of them out there now, I feel like.
Yeah, I know. And so that was kind of fun, and then we kind of like developed in our brains like our ideal whiskey. And we got really curious about it, and then decided to make the pivot.
So you said that was tied to the music industry. So was it like whiskey or was it like bourbon? Like there's a distinct difference, right? Like we all know all bourbon is whiskey, but not all whiskey's bourbon. And I think that sometimes people get misconstrued with that whole knowledge behind that. Like I feel like when I think of the West Coast, because my nephew lives out in Seattle now, they're very like malt, like whiskey, like actual American malt whiskey, things like that. So is that what you're kind of more talking about, or was it more like actually bourbon or rye?
It started probably more with whiskey, also Scotch, Irish whiskey, at least for me.
Yeah, it was a little bit all over the map because we traveled so much that we found ourselves in places sometimes where they didn't have a big selection and it was just kind of what was available. And sometimes we were in places where we found really obscure product that we then wanted to try. So like it started kind of
all over the
place. And
Definitely.
that was fun too, though, because that's kind of how we started developing our palates. Was just like, okay, we like this, but then what about this, and what do we not like in this that we love? And so that's how we created this like dream flavor profile in our minds that we then eventually, when we decided to actually do this for real, is what was kind of our our
roadmap
to
and we
create
landed
Lodestar.
we landed on an unusual blend.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely get into that here in a second. I mean, I guess being in the music industry makes it a little more sense of how, whiskey, bourbon, kind of the harder liquors come about for you guys, because we were trying to figure out as we were kind of doing our research. It's like, going, all right, you're from the California area. You guys are surrounded by wine. You have, tequila, even some rum get out that way. So we're just trying to say, all right, how did this come about? And so
yeah, it's from lots of travels in the music world, basically, and that was just the drink of choice. That's what was in every green room, and so that's how we. I mean, initially, I think we both got introduced to whiskey through our dads.
Yeah.
But that's how we developed more of a passion and a love for it, and kind of developed.
And I would say more Scotch, probably. We both grew up in Europe, so
okay.
A lot of Scotch over there.
So were you both born in Europe, or you just kind of grew up there after the fact?
I was born there. Wendelin was born in New York, so
Gotcha.
kind of as well.
Fair enough. That's kind of cool. I love Europe. I get over there every few years. I got some friends that live in Lausanne. I love Switzerland and France and those areas of that country and that countryside. Get on a train and kind of just
whiskey coming out of France now too, which is great.
So it's funny. I'm more, if I'm going to France, I'm Armagnac, Cognac, and especially when I can find it, Calvados. Like, I love Calvados. Most people are just like, "What's Calvados?" I'm like, "Well, you're missing out if you don't know what it is." But just kind of go from there. So, but yeah, it's weird. But yeah, I'm seeing that you're starting to see a lot more different whiskeys that are coming out of different regions of I guess the Central European area. So kind of neat. How did you come up with like Lodestar? Where did that come from? Right, I kind of did a little research. It looks like it's kind of like the North Star, or kind of like a compass or something like that nature. Tell us a little bit more about the inspiration behind that. Was it just like you were looking for a beacon and like this was it, and like were you lost? I mean, what happened here?
I mean, weren't we all lost in 2020?
100%. That's the reason I'm asking. What's the inspiration? It's a different name. And like I said, whenever I told people, I was like, I've got this interview coming up with Lodestar. They're like, Lone Star. I'm like, no, Lodestar. Like literally like 100 times I had to correct people over it. So yeah. So just kind of give us the inspiration.
So yeah, we like we said, we came from a totally different space and followed a passion for whiskey, followed an inspiration that there was some space for change in the whiskey world, that there was some room for some new stuff to join the party, basically. And so it was born out of passion, out of inspiration, and out of also a little bit of crazy to just jump into something completely different that we really didn't have much of a clue about. And when we were looking for a name or thinking of a name, that the word Lodestar just came up, because a lodestar is a navigational star. So the North Star is a lodestar, and it has another meaning, which is like a person or a principle that serves as a guide. So something that you navigate by, and we navigate it by our passion and by being inspired. And
well, there was also like, we were, like Anna said, it was 2020, right? So we like many other people were really missing kind of our community and coming together and celebrating and enjoying each other's company. And when we were like, okay, if we're going to do a pivot, if we're really going to go for something else, like what are some of the things that are really important to us? And there was these three words that kept coming up, and it was community, inclusivity, and joy. And so we were like, that's something that we navigate by and that we want to put out in the world. And then Anna was like, navigating.
Yeah, and then
Lodestar.
That's how and then it was also available.
Yeah,
that means a lot sometimes.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
100%. Yeah, it's always, when you see a word that you don't see every day, it always makes me think, like, what was the inspiration behind that, right? So it was one of those things that was immediately like one of the first questions that popped in my mind is like, where did Lodestar come from? Because it's a cool name. And like I said, when I looked it up, I was like immediately kind of like, man, I said either they were lost or something happened, or like, and they were changing directions. Like, that's really just kind of what was going in my head. But it's all assumptions and weird stuff that when you're talking to yourself sometimes when you're reading up on stuff. So let's dive in on this. Let's have a little sip and a taste and kind of run from there. they were kind enough to send us a bottle. So,
Absolutely. While we're kind of sniffing on this and kind of starting to get a taste of it, whenever you were starting to come together on the flavor or the what you wanted to this bottle to be and represent, because obviously it's already a blend of a single malt and I believe a high rye bourbon, if I have my notes right. Were you looking at a taste that you wanted and you had to craft to the taste, or did you just come across it by blend, having some tests and blends, and then that you landed on it and it hit? So kind of tell me how you kind of came across that.
Yeah, so we had, like we mentioned earlier, we had this like ideal flavor profile in mind that was just informed by the many whiskeys or bourbons that we had tried, that things we liked and some things and why we liked them and how that would work together with other flavors. And so that was more like a kind of like a fun hobby thing we thought about. And then when we decided to actually do this, we wrote a really detailed brief, basically. And we had from day one, that was what we wanted to go after. So we wanted to achieve this one flavor profile that we had in our minds. And then we quickly realized that blending would be the way to get there. And we collaborated with a master blender. He was, I think, inspired a little bit by how unusual this brief was and how detailed the brief was and kind of like what we were going after, because he was like, this is a little bit weird what you're doing, but I'm really into it. And then fairly quickly we landed on we needed, a decent amount of rye in there, and we wanted to go with some of the familiar bourbon notes, and then pairing that with the American single malt was how we achieved it. And then we got pretty close pretty quickly, and then from there it was tweaking basically.
So do you have a specific blend that kind of ties into that? And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there, Wendelin, but like, is it like a certain percentage of bourbon and then like 60% bourbon and 40% like single malt, or how does that tie in? Because I'm getting some very and Barbara's going to be really sad she's not here. The floral notes are just crazy on this thing. Like it's got a lot of floral. It's got a good mouthfeel, a little bit of citrus popping through,
and an underhint of smokiness. I'm just kind of getting on that.
Yeah, and then the other piece is like the sugary note. It's not as prominent as I was expecting with having that single malt, but it's almost like a creme brulee type, like brown sugar, like toasted brown sugar, maybe.
Yeah. I don't want to call it savory, but it's kind of like a Swedish savory.
Yeah, because it's different. I was expecting it to be a lot sweeter. So
yeah, because usually on the front of the palate you get that, and then it goes up to the back, but it's kind of skipping that front palate a little bit.
Yeah, it's so fun listening to y'all explain what you're getting, and this is one of the things that I love about whiskey is that different flavors evoke different memories for different people, and it ends up really being something that's like community forming, right? It's like you can get together and everybody tastes something different and has a different experience, and then you share in that together. So love that. So again, I'm going back to our brief. It's like we love a good bourbon, but we don't love things that are really sweet. So it was important to us that it wasn't too sweet. We also not only thought about flavor, but we thought about how are we going to be consuming this, and how are people going to be consuming this, and are they going to be drinking it? How are they drinking it? Neat, on the rocks, in a cocktail. And then we thought about who was drinking it, and we're like, well, we want this to appeal to seasoned whiskey drinkers, but we also, because we're women and we feel like traditionally whiskey has been seen more as a man's drink, and we really want to open that up and we want to bring more women in. Like, how do we attract them in? And so all of those things went into our brief and informed the flavor profile. And so I think a lot of stereotype is that women really love overly sweet things. And that might be true for some women, but most of the women I know are actually not that way. And so we were like, we don't want something that's too sweet. We want something that has backbone so that it stands up to other ingredients in a cocktail. I love rye, but rye is something that you I feel like have to work your way towards. So I was like, we wanted it in there. but like maybe we maybe we get people used to it first. We love citrus, and we feel like the rye brings that citrus in, and you mentioned that as well. And then the American single malt was kind of, yeah, that was really a collaborative process to kind of bring that into the mix. And we feel like it really rounds out the flavor. It gives it a longer tail. And like the toastiness and the smokiness that you kind of talked about, that we love that too. And those were all things that just honestly based on preference, and we're so glad that other people feel the same way.
Yeah, it's definitely different when you sit back and you talk to people, and then like I know what my preferred palate level is, right? Like I love rye whiskey, but I hate mint, which is weird because so many ryes will like dive in that direction. And Nick's kind of the same way, but Barbara and then some of the other folks on the podcast are completely different than us. There's about 6 of us that's a core group that meet up regularly, but it's just funny how everybody's palates are so different, and everybody picks up something a little bit different. They pick up this, they pick up that, and then you kind of land in the middle after talking and discussing it. To me, that's the best part about whiskey, is that it's something you can talk about. Like it's the brotherhood.
Absolutely.
Yep, and then also the memory invocation, is we're always big on that in our podcast, because, there's oftentimes, we had this discussion just recently, is like going, oftentimes, if you get some of that floral notes, or you got to get that sweet floral, we'll talk about honeysuckle. As kids, we went out, into the woods, and sometimes you come across honeysuckle, you'd pull the bottom out of the stem and just have a little of that honey. Nowadays, kids don't even know what the heck that is.
They're not Midwesterners. I'm not sure. Do y'all know what honeysuckle is?
Yes.
Okay. I always wonder, it's something that grows here prominently, but it's always funny. And for me, this immediately went to and listen, I'm country as hell, right? And I tell people, my grandma used to put violets in our eggs.
I love that.
And I remember that flavor, that floral note that came on those eggs, whenever you do that. And I was immediately, that's why I was that's got this weird, violety, field green note that was super super floral forward, and I was ooh, I can get behind that, So what's the age on these bad boys? I mean, are they somewhere around 4 to 5 years old? Is it a blend of 3, 4, 5 year old? How did the blend come together? What's the age? Because people in the bourbon world are typically a little bourbon snobby. So some people are a little sensitive about age, but I have to talk about it.
Yeah, no, we're not. We're as a matter of fact, we like to say we're all flavor, no fuss. So it's if, it tastes good, if it's young, use it.
Absolutely.
So yeah, so you asked before about the blend. It's and you were very close. It's 70% of the high rye bourbon and 30% of the American single malt. And we did play around with that a bunch, and that was just kind of the sweet spot. In terms of, sorry, can you remind, the age, right?
The age.
So the age, there's also it's we have a little bit of
wiggle room there,
but
there's a sweet spot.
But there's a sweet spot. And the American single malt is almost 2 years old, and the high rye bourbon is around 4.
Okay. Yeah, I would have expected the single malt to actually be a little older than that, with the smokiness that's coming off that.
Yeah. I know. And believe me, we tried.
And when we tried older, it overpowered.
Yeah,
it overpowered it. Gotcha.
I could see that. I could understand that.
Yeah. So where are you guys sourcing from to get these products? If you don't mind talking about that piece of it.
No, absolutely. So we can source from different distilleries. We have relationships with different distilleries because we source the barrels. We try every barrel. We taste every barrel to match basically the flavor profile that we have. And we're obviously going for consistency in this expression. But this particular bottling is with MGP product. They have that high rye bourbon, and they just make really good whiskey.
Yeah. So that you're using the 36% rye?
Correct.
And that's why I'll be honest with you, I think that's why I'm enjoying this spice so much.
Close to where you guys.
Yeah, it absolutely is.
Well, we've tried with other distilleries, and it's the 36% rye. You're right. There's something really special about it, but we've tried others, and we can kind of get there in different ways.
So I'm so snobby about MGP. I'm actually in a club that is we sell and trade. Well, not really sell. We trade, but we buy like single barrels of all around the country of different MGP products.
Oh, well, I
And
love
and I'm so snobby now. I can tell you at like age 5 what it's going to taste like. I can tell you at age 6, cause at like 6.5 to 7 when it switches again, and then at around 9 years it switches again. And most
But
people are
also,
like,
it's a trip. We went there a few times, and I remember we were sitting there and we were tasting all these different, and we couldn't get to the bottom. Remember, like we had this moment where we were like, why is this so different than the other one? And it turns out it was stored just on a different level in the rick house, and
Oh yeah,
getting to all the nitty gritty of that was just, I don't know, I've thoroughly enjoyed that.
Yeah, it was so fun because again, like we were coming at this pretty green, right? So it's just like we had to really roll up our sleeves and learn a lot. And we really appreciated just, and with all of our partners, we've built really good relationships, but MGP is the 800-pound gorilla, and we were like these two gals who were coming in, like, we
100%.
really appreciate that they were so enthusiastic and that they were so patient and that they were really down to like explore and answer all of our millions of questions that we had. Like it was just, we really appreciated it.
Yeah, my favorite is when they get to be about 9 years old, cherry cola starts to pop on those bad boys.
Nice.
And that's just my sweet spot. When those things hit 9, I'm just like, that's gonna be a really good barrel. So yeah, it's just funny, you know. Like I said, it's there's so much good whiskey out here being made, and there's so many people that are taking the time to carefully and blend and mix up things, and it's always nice when you see people that are taking even a bigger spin on it, right? Like I typically would not throw a single malt in a bourbon, right? Like I just wouldn't think of that. And and like I said, this is nice. It's got a lot of different complexities to it. I actually would prefer it to be just a touch sweeter, but I really love that floral note. Like, and there's none of that mint coming through that sometimes comes through on those younger 36%. So I mean, kudos to you guys and whoever helped to blend this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So is this considered kind of like batch 1? Is this still kind of like that flagship, or are we down into like batch 3, 4, 5?
We're definitely in a batch
3 or 4.
Yeah, but we started very intentionally only with one expression. We wanted to keep it simple and kind of do our learnings this way, and so yeah, that's where we're still at. We caught the blending bug for sure. We're very excited to.
It doesn't say batch 3. That's all I'm saying.
I know. People have told us like you should put the batch number on there. Yeah.
You know, it's like
so we're
it's like your
excited to
favorite
do
kid, right? Like when
I know.
you find a favorite kid, then you want to go look for it again, right? So like I will say this as a bourbon lover, like you should probably put the batch number on there.
We should probably. There's been a lot of
So
discussion.
people can be like, batch 3 is really good, or
Good
batch
batch.
2 is the bee's knees, right? We got to figure that stuff out so that way we can go hunt them out. Like, yeah, that's when you want that. You want bourbon hunters or whiskey hunters looking for that stuff. So
Yeah, the old batches like batch 1, batch 2, batch 3.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that comes up a lot, in our
100%.
areas. With this, how long are you looking at, getting your flag staked out, really, like, establishing yourself with this current iteration? Is there any plans to have either a branch off, another label, or other plans that might be coming up here in the near future?
finishings, maybe.
That is definitely something that I'm very curious about for sure. But
we definitely want to do some other expressions probably a year and a half out from that. But yes, we're very excited to do some limited releases. Basically, we come across really interesting barrels sometimes where we're like, that would be amazing. Doesn't fit this particular profile that we kind of started with. But yes, so we're excited to kind of branch out a little bit.
yeah. And before we hopped on here, we were just talking about, sometimes you come across like these rare there's only 3,000 barrels, or there's only, and yeah, and like Anna said, we caught the blending bug, like, and it would be really cool to then start putting some really fun things together and do very limited releases and just have that kind of be like, that SKU just always is going to be something different until it's sold out. Yeah.
Yeah, just immediately after talking with you guys and tasting this a little bit more and listening to kind of what you all like the thing that immediately comes to my mind is a VDN barrel.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Are you familiar with VDN? Kind of like that wine finish?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think that
That might marry with this fairly well, and you already like the citrus note, so like that orange citrusy that comes off there, I think that would be just marry really, really well with this. So
yeah, we've come across a lot of very good finishings because we have a couple craft distilleries just relatively close to us that like to do wine. They've done beer. They've done all types. Even like French oak. Finishes. So we're pretty accustomed to those kind of different barrel finished items, and I think your this actual blend here that you have is very susceptible to some of those other possible other barrels. So that'd be an awesome outbranch if you end up doing something like that.
Yeah. It's fun because it's like you expand your palette, but like kind of like a painter, you have so many more colors to paint with. If once you get into finishing and into just blending as well, there's so much you can do.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. That's why whenever you were talking about that blending is that, it amazes me. There's been sometimes whenever people say, oh yeah, we went through like 300, 400 samples till we finally nailed the one that we really, really wanted. But I enjoy the way that you guys kind of you knew where you wanted to end up. You just had to make the path there, and exactly. not many people kind of craft their juice that way. Usually, they come across something like, hey, this is pretty good coming out of the still. All right, now let's put it in a barrel. Let's see what happens in 2-3 years. See what it tastes like. To where you're saying this is where we need to end up, and we just have to make the road there. And I think that's really awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it definitely is a different perspective on how you do it. I also love the fact that you kind of tied like music into that. You're like, well, we had a bridge and we had this, and like just kind of tied that industry in there. So I'm gonna ask a fun question because like when you said music, I love music. I'm a massive music guy. So who was the most fun person you ever worked with in the music industry? And then who's the most famous person you ever worked with in the music industry?
Oh. The most fun person.
Well, the most fun people are the roadies, obviously.
and that's fine. Hey, listen, if Billy the roadie for whoever is the most fun person, that's great. Now, I will say they probably have the most fun because they're probably drinking the whole time and having a good time the whole time.
Yeah.
I could definitely see that as the case.
They work hard and they play hard.
Yes. And there's also like, I remember when I started going on the road and I was really green and I was with a very, very seasoned crew, and a lot of them were very, that some of them were even, I would dare to say, elderly, but they were still in the game, still doing it. And I was lucky that they took me under their wing. But yeah, it was wild to be on the road with people who'd been doing it for 40 plus years.
So my day job, I'm a commercial lender, and I'm going to get back because you're not getting away that easily. All right. My day job, I'm a commercial lender, and one of my favorite customers back before he passed away owned a company that was one of the largest rigging companies in the Midwest. Like he did concerts for everybody, lighting guys, and they were always like these old wiry dudes. Like they all weighed like 150 pounds, and they were just climbing up stuff and wiring stuff, doing lighting, doing this, doing that. So I understand what you're saying, but you're not getting off that easy. You said nothing was off limits. So who was the most fun and who's the most famous?
Well, I would say one of the definitely most fun to be, we weren't traveling. Well, for a little while we were traveling with him, but not in his party, but adjacent basically was Willie Nelson. That was super
okay,
fun.
Willie, yeah.
And
he knows how to have a good time.
I have no doubt of that.
And so his head of security, I think we were just all backstage and whatever. And again, like I was pretty young when I was on the road, and we were Willie, I think, had just come out with his line of weed cigarettes.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I think I remember that.
And
Yeah.
so he was just handing them out, and I was like, oh, and he just handed me a whole pack, and I said, I'm never, it's the end of tour. I only want, I don't need whatever. And then he was like, just fly with it home. And I was like, I can't do that.
I think Snoop and Willie probably have their own private
He was
areas
like,
that they
I
have to
just
worry
put
about
them
that
in
stuff.
my suitcase, in my hand luggage. And I was like,
Yeah, I'm about to say there's a couple songs by Toby Keith and about that.
I think he was a former Hell's Angel, and he was like, yeah, I just put them in my suitcase. I'm like, yeah, of course you do.
100%.
So, kind of getting back to kind of like the brand and everything. Do you guys have something coming up this winter that I think we kind of heard about? What do you got going on?
Yeah. We do. We're part of the Flavia Advent calendar this year, and we're really excited to be in that. It's just such a fun product. I personally love a good Advent calendar, and so we're really excited for Lodestar to be in there. We're in door number 20.
Ooh,
And
you're late. You're late on the. They actually told you the
I
door.
know, we're right before Christmas. And so, yeah, we're super excited for, that's a lot of people who get that into their homes. And so we're excited for a lot of people to be able to try Lodestar. And we're just excited to be part of this kind of cool thing that's going out there.
That's awesome. Is there anything like tied to your social media, like links to try to get that? Are you kind of? I assume you're kind of repping that a little bit out there.
Yeah, we're just kind of starting. We're starting to create content for it. There's so every day in the 24 days, basically, there's a different brand of whiskey, as I'm sure you know, and people can try it. And then there's also a little book that comes with it that talks about each of the whiskeys. And there's a brand video about it that we're going to record. And yes, and on our Instagram and on our website, we're going to link out to it. And it's already on sale. And people
Yeah, it's
can
on
order.
pre-sale, so it's actually, I think right now is the time to get it if you want to save some money.
And
Yep. I'm about to say this recording will come out probably here in the next couple of weeks. So yes, absolutely. So
And it's also such a cool gift for somebody who likes whiskey or who wants to explore whiskey more. You get like 24 whiskey tastings of really good liquid, and you get to explore it in this really fun way. It's this big box, and it has two glasses in it and all this information. And this year it's called Flavia Airlines, I think, or Airways.
Aviation. Somehow it's
Aviation.
So it's about flying, and so
Yeah.
the different doors and the different whiskeys are all different airports.
Back
that you
to
fly.
navigation.
Yeah.
Exactly, it's perfect. It's aligning well.
Yeah.
It's like
It
a
feels-
fortuitous union.
Yeah, it feels like a very special gift. It's like
Yeah,
it's very
it's a
cool.
cool gift,
There,
for
it's
sure.
a cool experience because it's really well thought out the way that they build it out.
Now, do you know if they're like 100 milliliter samples or 200 milliliter samples, or do you know how that runs?
Great
I
question.
think they're 200.
Are they 200?
Oh, those are big boys.
Decent. They're
That
decent.
must be an expensive calendar. That's a lot of
I'm
whiskey.
gonna have to look that up.
I think it was like
Maybe I'm wrong on this, but it's basically you get two glasses, and it's two tastings that you get out of each, I think.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah,
So it's probably a 100 mil bottle then.
maybe it is on.
200 would be a lot for a big sample.
yeah,
you're right.
It's
Oh,
like
I got it.
Don't get me wrong. I would use a 200 mil sample, but most people can't handle that. That would be the liver Olympics. They shouldn't call that an advent calendar. They should just call it that. So, I want to be respectful of your all's time here.
Oh,
so
look, Shay found it. Shay said it
It's
was
50.
50,
I was
50
way off.
milliliters.
there you go, 50 mil, even smaller. So yeah, that makes sense. Look, Shay, we love tech support when they pop up stuff.
So outside of, you kind of mentioned cocktails, cocktail recipes. We kind of looked at the website that you guys have. So I've got to ask you honestly, out of the cocktails that are out there, which are each of your all's favorites? I'm putting you on a tough spot.
We came up with this cocktail. It's kind of our signature cocktail. It's called a Lodestar iced tea. The way this came about was we were thinking about what kind of cocktail should we kind of put together, and we wanted to put tea in it. That was just something I don't know, at the moment felt.
I think it was like that this was, we only launched last year, so we're still pretty new. And when we were developing this was like maybe a year and a half ago, and there was a trend going all across LA
With
that
tea.
people were putting tea in cocktails, and we really loved that. So that's kind of
That's kind of how the initial idea came about. And then I remembered my dad used to drink this smoky black tea every morning. It's called Lapsang Souchong, and it has a strong smoke in it. And so I was like, that would be kind of cool. I think that will go well with
whiskey
with
and
this,
the
with
rye.
Lodestar and the rye. And then Wendelin is really amazing at creating recipes, and so we just played around with it and just added fresh lemon, a little bit of simple, and an orange peel, and it's just really quite tasty and gets this like smoke kick from the tea. So that would be my favorite, I think.
I like the fact that you all have a PSL too, man, for pumpkin season here. Even though yours is LPS, you should have went PSL. The pumpkin sour Lodestar would be so much more funny because you could tie it in with anything right now, right?
Yeah. I do love our pumpkin sour because it also has, we put a smoky apple liqueur in there, and we both like smoke. So but I think I really like the espresso,
Espresso tonic.
espresso tonic. Thank you. Yeah, it's just, I love coffee. I think coffee and whiskey go really well together, and it's really unexpected and refreshing.
I agree. Nick does not. It is one of the few things we disagree on a palate standpoint. I love coffee. Nick hates it, so it's always funny. Anytime I get it on a note, he's like, "Yeah, Scott, I got it right away. I know that's not me."
Well, the thing is that I don't drink coffee, but the thing is that I've always found coffee to be a slippery slope. Is if I were to start it, if I were to latch onto it, it would be downhill.
It's like cigars and bourbon.
Yeah.
If once you fall
Or
into the rabbit
uphill.
hole,
Yes.
my wallet can only handle so many hobbies. At least that's what my wife tells me. I don't know. Maybe I could handle more. I'd have to jump into that one. So I'm not a big tonic fan. So I was sitting here just thinking whenever me and Nick were looking through this, before we jumped on, I was like, I wonder what I could substitute the tonic for.
I really think you should try it because it's on its own, maybe not, but then when it comes together with all the other flavors, it suddenly works. It's just like when you do an old fashioned, you're putting bitters in it, right? And like maybe you don't like bitter on its own, but like when you put that together with the sweet and the whiskey, suddenly it works.
I mean, I'll try it. I'm just saying, immediately what went to my head was, what else is this sparkling that I can maybe, because I thought maybe that's what it was for, is for the bubbles maybe, rather than the actual
it's for the
taste of the
flavor too.
tonic.
Flavors.
Yeah.
You should totally try it, but it definitely it has orange.
Well,
Yes.
you guys really
You
are
need the
from
orange
Europe.
peel. You need that on the.
Yeah. And it's funny, it's like for our Lodestar iced tea too, we've done it without the orange peel because I don't know, you don't have an orange.
Right.
But it really ties it together. So that's what I love about the craft of craft cocktails.
Oh,
It's just,
100%.
mixologists really know what they're doing.
Yeah, we've got a couple of local alchemists that work on our cocktail recipes and stuff like
Nice.
that. I'll tell you one that you might want to just play with a little bit is the Quiet Professional. I think that it might do something. It might be a little sweet for you guys, but just off our conversation. But I think it's something that like you all could put a little play on with that one.
Can you tell me
Oh,
what it
Quiet
is?
Professional. So it's basically like 2 ounces of bourbon, couple of dashes of whatever bitters you like, like a half ounce of maple syrup, and then amaretto, 1 ounce of amaretto, and then you kind of then treat it like an old fashioned, kind of stir it all up real good, get the 20 stirs in there, and then pour it over a rock.
See, I really like, I would be like, yes, amaretto. I don't know about the maple. It's
Yeah.
like you right. It's like that might be a little sweet for me, but
And I don't typically like my bourbon to be super sweet, but a cocktail every now and then, like it's nice to have something that's got that sweet note, just because of the fact that, like, especially like if you're like the end of a meal, it's almost like a dessert, right? Like you can have a really big, nice cocktail that just kind of like, oh, that's my dessert, is this cocktail, rather than getting a bowl of ice cream or something,
yeah.
Because my
I
wife
do
would.
love old-fashioned with maple syrup.
There's this amazing bartender here in LA that made this old
Oh
fashioned
my
that we tried
gosh.
and then recreated, and that is one of my favorite desserts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we have plans to maybe release that on our website because he was very generous and gave us the recipe. We can share it with y'all, but it's a well it's funny because it ties back to our roots. There was a Austrian restaurant here in LA. Sadly, it closed. And they had a Sachertorte old fashioned,
Which is this like
yeah,
chocolate
cake that has a little bit of apricot in it, and it's a very famous cake from Austria. It's you steep the bourbon with or you infuse it with cacao nibs, and then you add like an apricot eau de vie and some bitters, a little bit of saline. It is incredible. It is so good.
I think
That
I could
sounds
definitely
good.
get behind that one. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know what you were. I didn't know how to pronounce what you were just talking about. But like when we were in Switzerland, when we went up to Bern, there was a little Austrian restaurant there, and they had that chocolate cake with like
yeah.
So it's kind of funny that you mentioned that, because I was like, oh, I actually know exactly what you're talking about. I didn't know what the name, but then when you started describing, I'm like, oh, I've had that. So
That's fun.
Now, the only thing that I'm kind of looking through your recipes that I know you guys don't really get out in California is kind of like that fall winter, like we do here in the Midwest.
well, wait a minute now. They could be in the northern part of California. They're not.
They're
but, I mean,
not.
but they could be.
It's not popular.
You get close enough to Oregon, they have almost winter.
They have more rain than winter. So.
Fair.
But are you getting? One thought is that if you want to get with some of your bartenders to see if they might think about some fall or some kind of winter style drinks to put out there for some of those some of us that actually go through winter. Because while a hot toddy is great, I'll use that more whenever I'm sick than whenever I'm just kind of drinking in fall.
Well, we have that pumpkin one on there.
Yeah,
Yeah, they also have the mulled cider.
Yeah, we have a mulled cider. That one's actually a big hit, and you can do it iced or hot.
Okay, I was going to ask about that too.
And that one's really good. And then we, Shay's saying the mulled cider is perfect. It is. And then we have like a maple old fashioned. I don't know if we put that out on our website yet.
But you are giving
yeah.
it food for thought. We should put more on there.
Exactly.
Hey, absolutely, because I'm not sure. So where is your distribution at? How many states are you reaching right now?
We're currently, as in like in bars, restaurants, and stores, we're just in California. And then online, we're available in all the other states that you can ship liquor to.
So you're probably like in like 29 or 30, something like that. Or are you guys in the full distribution of like 42? I'm trying to remember how it runs.
42.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, it's so weird how some places will allow shipping, some won't, and then some will only take shipping from certain places. Like it's crazy.
Yeah.
I think DC literally like is the only distributorship that can deliver to all 50 states because they're not a state,
Right.
which is crazy. Like I'm like, oh, so you have a
No,
distributor in DC?
they can't go to Rhode Island. Nobody can go to Rhode Island.
Oh, really? Is that what? Well, whatever. I just knew it was weird. Like that. Like they're like Washington.
I know we
DC
can't get
cuts it.
to Illinois, I think, or certain parts of it. I don't know.
Yeah, there's all these strange rules. But yes, we're in over 40, but not quite in all of them.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. All right, if people want to find Lodestar, how do they get it?
They should look on lodestarwhiskey.com. And again, it's LODE, lodestarwhiskey.com, or on our Instagram, Lodestar Whiskey. That's basically where we share some of the recipes. That's where we share some just stuff that we do, news about where we're at. if people are in California, they can find on the website or on the Instagram account where all the places that we are in as far as bars, restaurants, and retailers go. So yeah, those two places are probably the best way to find us.
There is one question that I forgot to ask.
Go for it.
It's one of the final questions that we like to ask in a lot of our interviews. So Into the World is happening. You get, you either get bit by a zombie, you got like 30 minutes to an hour left, before you switch, you change, or something happens. You have chance for one more drink to really enjoy. What do you go? Whenever you go to your liquor cabinet, your cellar, whatever, what do you pick and what do you drink?
For me, it's very, very easy and very simple. I would pick a Lodestar whiskey on the rocks.
There we go.
I mean,
okay, let's say if it couldn't be Lodestar, say it had to be something else besides Lodestar. Because a lot of times everybody would pick their own brand. I completely understand it, but what if it wasn't? what if it wasn't Lodestar?
Well, I'm gonna call out my mentor. And have you tried Forbidden Bourbon by Marianne Eves?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Forbidden. Yeah.
That would probably be
Mary
my
Ann was our first interview after COVID really got going. Like, it's weird.
Wow.
So when we started the podcast in October of 2019, maybe, I don't know. It's been a long time. That's all I know. It's funny. Like, we started out doing exactly this, but we were doing it like driving all over the Midwest and just meeting with people, talking to them, things like that. And then COVID happened, and I'm like, what are we going to do? How are we going to pivot? So I pivoted to doing reviews, talking to some people. We did a couple of things virtually, but like they were so hard even to get people virtually. They're like, well, I just don't have time. I don't have this, blah, blah. I'm like, you have nothing but time. Like, what do you mean you don't have time?
You're sitting at home in your pajamas.
Well, that and the distillers were like, well, we're doing this, and they're making hand sanitizer or whatever other weird, crazy things that were going on in their worlds, right? So they're basically like, we just don't have time to do anything. I'm like, cool, fair enough. So like, then I started talking things like that, and oddly enough, Marianne popped up. Like, somebody I had a lot of respect for. We followed her from Old Forester into Castle and Key and all that stuff, and she had just left Castle and Key, and I was like, Marianne, I know you may not remember me, blah blah blah. Send her an email, and the next thing you know, she's on the show like 2 weeks later, and that ramped us right back into like, oh, we can do this. Like, so it's kind of funny how fortuitous and unusual that some of those things can be. So Forbidden, yeah, that's a good one. All right, we got to come back to you then, since you picked Lodestar. What would it be if you couldn't have a Lodestar?
Oh, yeah.
It could be wine. It doesn't have to be bourbon. I mean, I prefer it to be bourbon because that makes it much more interesting.
Sorry. Last drink I'm ever going to have is not going to be wine.
Fair enough.
I guess it would be my dad's whiskey sour.
Okay.
Oh, I respect that.
So a nice, good cocktail. So is he a true like egg white guy?
Yeah, all the way.
Good deal. I love that.
Absolutely.
I'm always shocked when people are like, "Oh, you put egg white in your." I'm like, "Dude,
that's how it's supposed to be.
That's how it's supposed to be made. Like that's the recipe. It's literally in the recipe." They're like, "Oh, that's not the way I do it." I'm like, "Yeah, you do it wrong then."
And it's not a whiskey sour.
It's not a whiskey sour.
Have you tried those foams? They have like now the fee foam or
that's
whatever.
Fake. It's fake.
I know. I agree.
It's like what's the new that's the new hot drink place, Swig, out of Salt Lake City. I don't know if you've heard of them or not, but they have like this. It's basically they use Coke, Dr. Pepper, all that stuff, and then they mix like half and half or creams and stuff in with it, and then a bunch of other flavoring. So it's like a crazy flavored soda. Wow. And I'm just like, well, what? Like, and they're like, yeah, you got to go with the half and half. And I'm like, why would I put half and half with Coke? And then like, I don't know. But they just started opening them around here. But like, I know that they're an out west thing. Like evidently Salt Lake City and tons of places in Utah have them. So it's just kind of weird.
Absolutely.
Speaking of really good whiskey sours, legendary in my mind, and also Utah. Remember?
Oh, yeah.
We went to Park City on tour once, and we had a whiskey sour at
High West. Oh, yes.
They're pretty good. And they also have an amazing charcuterie board.
Yeah. The pairing. Can we also pick our last meal while we're at it?
Hey, there you go. That's
you can never go wrong with a meat and cheese and fruit tray. It's funny. I used to never be able to say charcuterie, but then you spend enough time in Europe and in Switzerland and stuff like that. You learn those fancy words. Is what
your pinky's good, getting up a little higher.
That's right. A little free there. Well, ladies, thank you so much for being on the show. It's been great. Is there anything else you all want to cover? Did we miss anything? Nope.
No,
I'm getting the head nod. No, Scott. Great. So if they want to get in touch with you guys, is the easiest way just to hit you up on Instagram, or do you have an email?
We have an email on our website too, but the easiest way is probably just to send us a DM.
Good deal. Well, hey, thanks so much for coming on. If you want to find Lodestar, or if you have any questions, if you don't hit them up, you can hit me up at bourbonbarreltalk@gmail.com. You can find us on Instagram, the X, Facebook. What else are we on, Nick? Anything else?
Apple Podcasts.
Yep. Spotify. Yeah, all kinds of good stuff. Wherever you find podcasts, you can find us. This is Scott, Nick, Anna, and Wendelin signing off from Bourbon Barrel Talk. Peace out.
Peace.